коллеги, наш форум продолжается.
Colleagues, our forum is continuing greenwashing. Why do brands pretend to be eco-friendly? And over the last years, many brands try to become more green. They apply marketing instruments and increase their commodities prices. But nevertheless, there are issues. How does a brand strike a balance between eco-initiatives and business development? How not to fall into the greenwashing trap? Are there innovative solutions to help involve the client in the application of sustainability practices? I am glad to welcome the moderator of the next session, Daria Lipatova, co-founder of SETIT.
Hi. Dear participants of the Noble Vision Open Innovations to Zero Forum, my name is Daria Lipatova and I am co-founder of Upsetted and your moderator for the next 45 minutes. This is a special pleasure for me to welcome you on this online session, Greenwashing, Why Do Brands Pretend to be Green? This hot topic will be discussed today by the international speakers from Germany, France and India. Christoph Schepan, Managing Partner of Next Commerce Accelerator, Luc Speisser, Global Chief Innovation Officer at Landor Fitch, and Jabir Karat, Founder and CEO of Woms. So it is commonly known that greenwashing or green camouflage is a form of environmental marketing that makes extensive use of green PR and techniques that aim to mislead consumers about an organization's environmental goals for a product or service to present it in a favorable light. So at the same time, recent research tells us that 2 out of 3 consumers believe that efforts to address climate change are necessary, and about 40% of employers choose a job because company needs sustainability. So with the growing popularity of environmental agenda in recent years, many brands are trying to become more green. Applying eco-marketing tools helps them not only increase the value of their own products and services, but also share responsibility to the planet with the customer. Luc, Landor Fitch is a leading brand transformation company where you lead the most challenging practice, innovations. You're working with the world's most famous brands on a daily basis. So in your opinion, what are the prerequisites for brands to become green?
Well, thank you, Daria. I think actually there are no prerequisites. Everyone can become green. But the key thing here is everyone can become green as long as they act, not just talk about sustainability. So I like to say that we've moved, and this has not started yesterday, right? We've actually moved from an era of storytelling to one of story doing. So brands, companies, when it comes to sustainability and anything else, by the way, need to start doing first and then talk about what they do. So that's the overall paradigm. And I'd like to say also that wherever you are, whatever brand you are, either if you're a sustainable native, if you're a recent one, or kind of an heritage brand one, wherever you are on your sustainable journey, you can build your brand to be good and also deliver return on reputation in business. And I like to say also that there are no bad, right, or good brands. There are not brands that are well born and brands that are badly born and they never have a chance to become sustainable. What is really important is any brand that's on a real journey to improve is legitimate, right? So as long, again, as they act and not just speak about sustainability. So of course, when you are, I'm making this example, deliberately caricatural, right? So if you are the vegan shop, sustainable native vegan shop around the corner, it's easier for you to be sustainable than if you were a big multinational energy company who is not necessarily born sustainable and who's been around for 100 years, right? But when you are a big multinational company, the transformation is much complex, right? Much more complex and takes longer. But every small step, when you're such a big company with such scale, is absolutely critical, as long it's, again, as it's a real step and not just a communication step.
Right, but if we speak about development of business, development of brands, how does a brand find a balance between eco initiatives and its profitability?
This is a very good question. That's the key question, right? Actually, the answer is to actually make sustainability profitable. And because if you think of it, right, for the moment, companies, most of the companies have actually engaged, because of the pressure, right, from the regulators, from the people, engaged into making many, many pledges, right? And net zero by 2050, reducing plastic materials, all kinds of pledges, right? And actually the problem with those pledges is that they're delivering only on the 2 Ps of the official definition of sustainability according to United Nations. The official definition of sustainability according to the United Nations is about bringing together economical, environmental, and social, right, progress. Basically, sustainability rests on 3 pillars, also called the 3 Ps, which is planet, people, profit. The pledges that companies have been making so far, most of them are only delivering on making planet and people better, which is great, right? If you improve, if you reduce your plastic materials by 25% within 5 years, that's great. The problem is that everybody's making the same pledges. And so this is what we call a green sea of sameness. So don't get me wrong, this is great that companies are moving and acting into that direction, but the 3rd P, profit, has been lost along the way. And that's the problem. So this is what we're helping our clients doing, is really making sustainability profitable and really shift it from a cost to an investment that drives return.
So at your company, what kind of instruments or methods or maybe even innovative approaches do you use to make those brands truly sustainable, to provoke that sustainable transformation of brands, if I may say?
Well, actually, when you look at those pledges, right, when you look at what has been done so far, the way we define, we are a brand-led transformation company. It's basically connecting business strategy to brand strategy and putting the brand at the service of the growth and of the business, right, of the company. But to get there, you can't see brand as just lipstick on a gorilla or as a marketing trick or put green on your visual identity. That's not what we mean by brand. This is just a small part of it. That's the communication dimension of it. What we mean by brand is actually really completing 2 things, right? You need to be, and this is true for sustainability as well, what you do in sustainability needs to be both relevant. Relevant is basically giving people what you need, giving people what they need. But at the same time, you need also to be different. You need really to stand out from the crowd. Otherwise, if you're just the same, then the only thing that differentiates you from the other is your price. So if you want to make sustainability profitable, companies need really to build on your brand. And in other words, you need to connect sustainability to your business and you need to connect sustainability to your brand. So connecting sustainability to your business, which is what makes you best, and connecting sustainability with your brand, what makes you unique. And that's the critical factor. So that's the philosophy, right? Then to get there, what we do is that we helping first any company to assess where they are on the journey to sustainability. And then the second step of that is we're really looking at amongst the 17 sustainability development goals of the United Nations, which are quite broad, right? Because they encompass both people and planet. So it's really economical and it's environmental and social. So we look and we measure that quantitatively. We look at what are the sustainability development goals that best connect with that brand. And ultimately, we identify the initiatives, the actions that will really enable them to stand out and to champion not several things, but one thing. So let me give you an example, right? A WBP example. So Tommy Hilfiger, right? A brand that was, you all know, it's a fashion brand, a brand that was kind of rooted in the 80s, right? And always standing for the American dream, but in a kind of old-fashioned way, right? Be rich, live in the Hamptons. The first work consisted into helping them to reposition and defining what the American dreams of the 21st century was. And ultimately, we landed on a purpose, a new purpose, which is anything is possible and making everything possible for everyone. So basically, as a brand saying that the American dream of 21st century is radical inclusivity. So now take that purpose, anything is possible, right? What they've done from there is they've created a sustainable enterprise plan, which is called Making It Possible. And this is where the balance comes in. They did two things. First, when you're a fashion brand, you need to reduce your damages, of course. So they had a first program, which is about wasting nothing, which is engaging the company into recycling, into, of course, making products lasting longer. But they could never be the world champion on that, right? Because they're not sustainable native. The second thing, which they did, and this is where sustainability becomes profitable, is they looked at how they could stand out. And they started from the brand, from the purpose. If we are for radical inclusivity, we can champion Sustainable Development Goals number 10, which is reducing inequalities. And from there, they spotted an initiative, which was a small initiative that they started, which was an adaptive range. So a range of cool Tommy Hilfiger clothes for people living with disabilities. And actually, that was the thing that could really own. So they focused their investment on making a true full adaptive range with 7 patented innovations, 7, plus created the digital e-commerce ecosystem that was fully adaptive. The result of that was, after 1 year launch, $300 million incremental business, plus, of course, a massive boost on reputation. So that's a very strong example of what we mean by brand-led sustainability, is boosting your reputation and also boosting your business by championing something that is really close to your business and close to your brand. So that's how we work. Once we've defined the focus, right, then we ideate. We find those ideas like Tommy Hilfiger Adaptive, and then we help our clients flesh them out, make them happen, make a business case, right? Make innovation actually come to life. And then, of course, with everything we do, we measure the effect and the impact, both on reputation and on the bottom line. That's how we work.
Thanks, Luc. And indeed, if you cannot measure something, you cannot manage it. And you also have just been touching a very important topic, making sustainability profitable. So in light of this discussion, I'd like to turn to Chris. As Chris, you have a very extensive top management experiences spanning across multiple industries, from one of the most life-changing companies like Airbnb to a corporate venture fund and accelerator, Next Commerce Accelerator, backed by 24 of great German businesses. For our audience, just a few quick numbers about NCA. So since 2017, NCA has funded 47 startups out of more than 6,000 startups sourced. And out of this portfolio, about 60% receives follow-up funding within 6 months post-acceleration, with average check of 600,000 euro. So personally, I'm proud to name my company, Offsetted, a part of the NCA family. So on the daily basis, you meet with dozens and dozens of founders that claim that they are the next game changers in climate tech in this industry. Well, how do you distinguish between hype and long-term potential in making an investment decision?
Thank you, Daria. I mean, for sure, this is a good question. Let me start by saying that this entire topic of sustainability, climate change, and also doing good for the environment in my mind, so since the more 4 or 5 years that I'm an investor has just popped up recently, let's say maybe maximum the last 2 years. So we see a lot of topics come and go. I hope this one stays, because obviously we have a problem with our planet. Our planet is dying. So of course, as you said, we have made a couple of investments in this space already. And for sure, there are a lot of startups, as with any other topic like AI or crypto, they claim they do this and this, and it's all beautiful on the slides and the buzzwords. But actually, we're looking for the impact, and it's not quite easy with this topic, because there's no startup that can just invent one product and this whole problem is fixed. That is not possible, sadly. So we just try to see whether or not this, let's say, approach can have impact on the long term, on the midterm, so that if there's more funding going into it, whatever it might be, maybe just triggering a change in behavior with people, this can start there, or actually developing some sort of appliance that maybe helps to reduce waste or any other things, that on the mid and long term, there's impact found in this. So that it's not just an idea, but we need to see, okay, that there must be a chance, or at least an idea or a chance that this could become, but I have to emphasize it's a process. So with every other thing is also what Luc just said, there's not like this one thing and now everything is solved. It is process, it takes time. So even with all the startups we invested in this particular space, they're doing good, they're doing extremely well, but it takes time. And again, this thing is developing, everyone is paying attention to it. Even the bigger investors, let's say BlackRock and so on, ESG is part of now, if you want to raise money, public or private, you have, even if you're not a climate startup, you have to give proof or show that you're actually not ruining the planet, but you're actually helping in assisting all this, like reducing waste, for instance, when you're an e-commerce shop. Yeah? So there's no golden rule, but again, I can just repeat, we're just trying to see beyond the curtain, the surface, to understand, okay, does this have a real chance on the mid and long term to have some impact, a positive impact, of course.
Right. So if we're speaking about your portfolio, have you already invested in companies in climate tech besides Offsetted?
Yes, we have, but more indirectly. As I said, Offsetted's approach is much more directly, much more obvious in this direction. But for instance, we have invested in a company that basically supplies all hotels and restaurants and other industries with sustainable inventory and all of this kind of things. And they're doing this for long term. So sustainable manufactured, sustainable sourced, no plastic or plastic reduced, and all of this. And this is not like fixing the big problem, but it's adding value, as all these major hotel chains, by the way, so it's worldwide, are changing their equipment towards more sustainable items, for instance, and this is good for the planet too. So indirect, yes, a couple of them directly as really going out and saying, look, we're helping you to, these companies assess their carbon footprint and help to reduce it. No, so this is kind of a premiere, but again, we're very, very bullish about your plans, your product. And I hope, just for the sake of all of us and our kids and grandkids, that there are more these kind of startups tackling these issues. So we hopefully have a chance to fix this. Yeah.
Right. But at NCA, you have a great set of corporate partners, German companies that operate globally and in various industries, like from FMCG to railway construction. And in your opinion, how does a brand, this big company, strike a balance between eco initiatives and business development? Because as we just discussed with Luc, it might be very costly.
Yeah, sure it is. But on the other hand, there's no, what are your options now? If you're a consumer company, then now consumers will look more closely as before, seeing if you're green or not. And if you're faking this, if you're pretending to be green and you just greenwash yourself, and let's say a year or a quarter later, this is revealed by someone, your brand is damaged, maybe forever. So there's a high risk in this. And along with that, some customer segments are accepting higher prices if they are assured that this, let's say, product they buy is really sustainable. So we see this in a lot of segments. But again, it's a balance. But also I say once more, it's a process. You cannot, if you're a large corporation, like we have in our investors who are globally, who are making billions per year. You cannot just switch a switch and then you're suddenly green and everything's working. But you start to make the move. You're doing this process, and again, I think there's, if you look in a couple of companies, for instance, Patagonia is, I think, a great example. There can be a great business, a profitable business, with sustainability in mind, and we see that all of the new companies now that are emerging have this some sort of in their DNA for themselves, but also for their investors. So I think it's possible to balance those both things.
Thanks, Chris. And we've just been talking about impact startups, and our next speaker has started his own company to make a profound impact on his community. As Woms was launched in 2014 as a startup providing waste management solutions in Kerala, India. Now it has grown up as a social enterprise which provides employment to 500 women directly and 300 other women indirectly through shared mission. Woms provides their clients with plastic offsetting option, which is considered to be one of the most difficult fraction to offset so far. And Jabir, as we're discussing eco-marketing campaigns today, and what strategies should a brand use not to get into greenwashing trap, would you please elaborate on how do you work with plastics in India?
Yeah, thanks, Daria. See, in India, things are a little different now. For example, the consumers are not really concerned about, what are the steps, proactive environmental steps the brands are taking. So like a lot of brands comes to us to implement these kinds of projects whenever they export something to Europe or North America. So Indian consumers are not really worried about how they're, unlike in other part of the world, especially in developed countries, So here in India, things are, brands are taking some steps not because of the consumer pressure, but there was a regulation from 2019 onwards. There was some, the government of India has taken some strong stand in terms of, especially with plastic waste and, electronic waste. So they have taken some firm stand in this regard. So we are seeing some really good tractions, especially most of these FMCG brands, especially big brands, and are taking some step to, especially to take back the plastic waste from the environment. But still, brands are really worried about in terms of how they can meet the legal compliances with the low cost. The genuine intention of the taking the responsibility at the heart and doing, that's not how cheap they can do it. How they can meet with the legal compliances. They're more really worried. That's something that I have observed from the brands. In kind of projects, what we do, we have developed very low cost and decentralized and some technology driven, especially plastic waste collection initiatives and especially low value or negative value plastic waste in remote islands and coastal areas where there is no waste collection system at all. So whenever we offer, whenever we discuss something with brands, we say we are not disrupting any existing value chain, or we are not snatching any someone else's share. We implement those projects, those places, there is no waste collection at all. So that's something, that additionality is the first thing. And especially in a country like India, of course, along with this environmental impact, we see a huge potential of employment generation. For example, so if we collect 2 metric tons of waste per day, it can create job for 30 people. Like an average, a woman would earn around $130 to $135 per month. So that's kind of, there is a, so if somebody gives us a 50 tons order per month, so we would tell, you are actually directly creating jobs for another 30 women, especially in this rural part of India. So along with the environmental impact, we also give them a lot of social impact metrics. and a lot of brands, especially in Europe or US, so main concern is actually the traceability, transparency in the whole value chain. So we have some technology platform as well as we have some technology partners. So we provide right from collection to the end destinations, the whole transparency and traceability, like anyone can actually access anywhere in the world. And also we are open for a third party auditing or, all those kinds of stuff. That's some of the activities we do.
So Jabir, you are working with brands from all over the world, as far as I understood. And what type of reporting do you provide your customers so they could avoid accusations of greenwashing?
Okay, in India, of course, for Indian brands, there are some kinds of documentation standards set by the government of India. So mostly it's as of now, it's not digital. It's mostly hard copies of collection, transportation, whether it's a recycling or a co-processing, a whole set of documents are there. We need to produce against each transactions. For international clients, as I said, I'm not directly working with any brands directly. Rather, I work with certain platforms, maybe like a Chris or Luc, who are looking for some implementation partner. We are more of rather as an implementation partner some brands want to offset so and so quantity of, plastic waste, especially in a developing country or underdeveloped countries. And, along with the social impact metrics. So based on the brands or based on the platforms, we work with a couple of platforms. So based on those standards, I think VERA standards, some plastic credit standards and all. So we comply with mostly the technology platform. We apply. So we don't have. I think it's an evolving document in terms of plastic credits and these things, but we adhere to whatever the standards they put forward. And in terms of volume, we do average, 8,000 metric tons per year, 8,000 metric tons per year. That's the kind of volume we do. And we also mostly, in a country like India, again, because of the high value or the so-called HPP or, like a lot of plastic gets picked up by these rack pickers or the scrap dealers, because a lot of huge number of people who earns their livelihood by collecting these scraps and all. So we usually collect those material which otherwise would have gone to landfill or ocean. So that's another key area we work in mostly in coastal areas. So mitigating the oceanic plastic pollution is one of another another aim, and that's how we position ourselves.
Right, and the last question that I have for you. So you have been in this field since 2014. So do you see interest from investors increasing in the recent years to such impact companies like yours?
Yes, Daria, I think like many of you said, I think there is a momentum, coming up, especially the waste management or these kinds of initiative. There was no interest for people, everybody was a lot of skeptical about the space and, its sustainability and its business models and all. So in the recent years, people have come forward. A lot of people, including us, we have got recently funded. So in terms of, I think there is a really good momentum in terms of people are coming forward, and especially in global brands as well, they are forming some consortium, and because as an investment as well, putting money in an organization like us. So of course, I see a positive direction in terms of as a part of the global, a change in this direction.
Great, thank you. And I hope that this year brings us a partnership with your company as well. Dear colleagues, as we are approaching the end of the session, I'd like to ask each of you the final question. Do you think that greenwashing is a sign that climate tech is developing, or is it deteriorating? Who would be the first? Chris?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there may be two answers. The one thing I hope, and the thing that happens, as far as we see, I think it's accelerating, and there's more to come. and the brands that not present any form of green strategy or sustainability will be washed out, because on the long term, I mean, it's also a question of price, yes, but I think that there is no other way. So everyone is addressing it, and I hope also in a sincere way, not as faking it, and the fake ones will be spotted sooner or later. So we're seeing more of it, and I hope there's more to come, and I hope all the things that happen, that we find positive impact, and that we can somehow rescue this planet. Yes.
Right. So, Luc, is it an inevitable step towards the maturation of the industry, or does it mean that we are making a step in the wrong direction if we see so much greenwashing cases out there?
Well, I think greenwashing is definitely a step into the wrong direction, because and basically brands are expecting people are expecting brands to keep their promises, and this goes beyond sustainability, right? And they have ways now to look at the ones who lie, to scrutinize them. So moving consciously into greenwashing is suicidal. So that's so instead of that, again, brands should really connect sustainability not as something which is separate, but connected to their business and to their brand. And actually, there are ways to act quite quickly. You don't need to wait for 3 years or even 1 year. We helped the International Volleyball Federation within 6 months through the GoodNet program with Creative for Them, which is connecting to their, to volleyball, to really be very highly ranked into the International Olympic Committee and have a program which is now long-term. And we just did that in 6 months. So there are ways, to move fast, but move fast, do first steps, make a plan, and then make bigger things. But connecting it to the brand helps you to remain different, because it's all about stop just complying and really starting differentiating. And that's the way that you will avoid greenwashing.
Thanks, Jabir. So do you think that greenwashing is a sign of a climate tech developing, or is it really going down with such practices?
I agree with what Chris said in terms of, I think it's more of a developing, because I strongly believe in terms of marketing is something, which can actually change the brands, not the brand itself, because so at least, though it's not a good practice, at least some talking is happening, and so I think there is I think it's more of the right brands or the wrong brands. I think the whole discussion is going on exactly. I think it's the right move. So I think it's more of a developing stage.
So thank you, Chris, thank you, Luc, thank you, Jabir, for this wonderful session today's afternoon, and thank you for being with us. Stay tuned with the Noble Vision Open Innovations 2.0, and hope to see you all in person very soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Транспортно-логистический холдинг «Российские железные дороги». Мы развиваем транспортную инфраструктуру страны, строим новые станции, вокзалы и создаем новые возможности для вашего бизнеса. Лучшие скоростные и высокоскоростные поезда сделают ваше путешествие комфортным и безопасным. Мы – локомотив экономики. Сотни миллионов тонн грузов ежегодно. Развитие науки и социальной сферы – это наш вклад в благосостояние страны и ваша уверенность в завтрашнем дне.
Я новая Hyundai Creta. Hyundai.
Есть история фантастическая. Есть история сказочная. Есть страшная история. А есть история реальная. Юка всегда реальная история и диагностика автомобилей с пробегом. Юка – официальный сервис Hyundai. Смотрите историю и диагностику автомобиля и покупайте его онлайн.
If you want to stay ahead of the competition, you need the most advanced solutions to transform your comms performance. From media database to social influencers, distribution to monitoring, analytics to insights, Cision's cloud-based tools can help you communicate like never before.
Звонки ВКонтакте для работы. Больше никаких ограничений по времени и платных функций. Звонки ВКонтакте — это разговоры